baby. Hi. What you doing? Are you going to be part of the video? It says puppy for a video. For now. We'll see how long he stays around. So this is another one of the Straw Hat reunion videos that I'm doing. This one is going to be about the second half of when all the Straw Hats are split apart. So this is going over... Ignore the dog. This is, of course, going to go over, where Robin ended up, where Chopper ended up, where Frankie ended up. By a technicality, where Brooke ended up, but I'm not going to do that much with Brooke in regards to those reunions. But we'll start with Robin. So, of course, during the time the Straw Hats are all split apart, separation arc and everything that we get, we find out that Robin ends up at a place called Tequila Wolf, which we find out is this, this giant, long bridge kind of country that was being built. I believe it is in the East Blue. And it's, this place is just sad on so many levels. With the fact that it's, it's been being built, I think, for the past, 500 or 700 years, something like that. That pretty much everybody that's on it are kind of slaves of the world government to a degree. If you're born here, that's where you live for your whole life, working on building this bridge, all because a world noble wanted to have an island, or wanted to have a bridge built between one island and another. And at this point in time, they're just still building it, even though possibly neither of those kingdoms may still be around for all we know. Yeah, it's just sad. In the cover series, really all we get is Robin ends up on the island, and then she kind of ends up on the bridge, and then she ends up kind of, captured, and then she's on the run, and then the Revolutionary Army shows up, led by Bunny Joe, if I remember correctly. And they free the island and help Robin and everything, and then they take her back to Baltica. Where she ends up spending time with, of course, Koala and Hack and Sabo and everything, and, probably met Dragon. But, we get that interaction. But one of the things that I do like in the anime is that they kind of expand on this a little bit. And yeah, I know parts of these are done via filler in the anime, but I still like what they do with them in the anime. It's okay, I don't necessarily care that these characters may not be canon, but there's, I like them enough, or they're based on probably a situation that would happen in this type of a place. And of course, the main character that I want Robin to be reunited with at some point, or at least get maybe an update on the character. I know she's not canon, but is Soren. And Soren is this, this little girl that's, grown up on Tequila Wolf her whole life. She was born there, or, she's been there at least as long as she can remember. And, she's, she doesn't really have a happy life by any means, but she ends up, she finds Robin. She's the one that finds Robin in the snow and explains to her where she is. And she, she takes Robin back to where she's living with these other workers and everything, and the dog's moving. Takes Robin back to, I have to record and then you can have your window, I promise. I do give him the window when I'm done recording. He wants window. But, it takes Robin back to, Soren takes Robin back to where she lives, and we see this whole interaction between Robin and Soren, where Robin kind of ends up living in kind of the attic of this. Yes. Robin kind of ends up staying in the attic of this house, and we kind of find out that the reasons, Soren found her is because Soren was out trying to find scraps of wood that she can, draw on. And we find out that Soren does these different, wood carvings or drawings in the wood of these different places that she's imagined. She's imagined a place like Skypiea and, some of these other places. And, Robin, tells her of her adventures. And, this little girl, Soren has no idea who Robin is. I highly doubt they ever get any news of, bounties or anything like that that's not permitted to them by, the soldiers that are running Tequila Wolf. But, so she doesn't know that Robin is this, 79 or whatever million berry bounty on her head or whatever. Doesn't know that she's part of this crew called the Straw Hats. Has nothing to go with that. She just knows that this is a woman that landed on her island, needed help, and helps her. And then Robin repays that, that gratitude, that, repays that kindness by, at one point she like surrenders so Soren doesn't get hurt, and then of course later on, when the Revolutionary Army shows up, Soren kind of tells them where Robin is, and then Robin, of course, is like happy that Soren's going to be okay, because like Soren and like a bunch of the other kind of workers are freed. Of course, I wouldn't be surprised if like they went off and like some of them probably went and just joined the Revolutionary Army. It's like, oh, we're sick of this, we're going to go join them. Or it's also just like, okay, I'm just going to leave now. I'm going to go find a quiet island and I'm going to go live there. I have building skills. I can use those, or whatever, goes and, some of them probably just went to go have regular lives. Others may went and joined the Revolutionary Army. We don't know. That's not really something that's gone over in the manga, but that would make, canonically, that would make sense. It's kind of similar to like what happened on, Dawn Island in the Goa Kingdom when Luffy was a kid, when like Dragon and Ivankov showed up there and everything. But, I know Soren's technically not canon, I don't think, but I still kind of want her to pop back up again. Even if it's anime-only filler, I don't care for that one. Just like a little bit of what happened to her, I'd be fine with that. And then moving on to Chopper and the Torino Kingdom. Of course, Chopper ends up landing on this, island, that's basically ruled by these large giant birds. And of course, the people that live on the items, these, the natives that live there, he finds out that they have this, very advanced like medical knowledge because of like all the herbs and everything, herbs and plants and everything that are on their island. They're able to use that. And Chopper, he kind of like makes friends with the birds, and then he like explains to, he basically acts as a translator between the birds and the people. And I know some of this is just additional stuff that's like not canon, but it's like just, just a filler to, fill out the anime episodes to explain what's going on with the Straw Hats and everything, while Luffy's, on Amazon Lily and then Impel Down and then, at Marineford and everything. But I do kind of like, it makes sense that this stuff would happen. It doesn't, it's not as like, I don't consider it as fillery as like, additional things with Foxy or like what they did with the Davy Back fight arc. It's not as, it's not as fillery as that. Because it's just like a little bits here and there. They're like at like half episode things each, or like maybe an episode depending on stuff that happens with each of the Straw Hats for these little, side adventures that they go on. That makes sense. So I'm a little bit more okay with like, it's not quite canon, but I'll be more comfortable with this being canon than other things. Than other things that are filler. I kind of put this on like, it could be canon, like, Strong World and like Film Z can kind of fall into like where they could be canon, like it would make sense for where they would be canon. But, of course, Chopper kind of acts as a translator between, the birds and the natives of the island. And like the birds are like, well, we don't want them coming to take like our shiny things because they like gather treasure because it's shiny, because of course birds like shiny things. And Chopper explains explains that the natives, the villagers, was like, no, they don't want the shiny things, they want the herbs. And they're just like, oh, that's okay. And then I like the fact that the natives initially think that Chopper is like a raccoon and they try to eat him. And then he talks and he's just like, I'm not a raccoon. And it's a full, the whole Tanuki thing that I find funny. Chopper the Tanuki. And of course, what we kind of see is, of course, Chopper ends up, befriending the natives. And, that's where, of course, where he ends up staying during the 2-year time skip, because, he finds out that they have this huge amount of like medical knowledge in their library and everything. And, he already has all this Drum Island medical knowledge, add in this additional medical knowledge that he gets from here, and that just makes, things so much better for Chopper in regards to him being able to be a doctor. It's like, I do kind of wonder if like Dr. Kureha is familiar with the Torino Kingdom, as in like maybe familiar with like some of the things that they have, like some of their herbs or everything like that. Possibly, I'm not sure. But, that might be something that can happen, a conversation between, like, Chopper and Kureha at some point in time. Well, where of all the places you've been, Chopper? Well, I went to a place called the Torino Kingdom. You've been to the Torino Kingdom? Yeah, you know what it is, doctrine? Or it's just like, yeah, they're renowned for their, like, medicine and their herbs and everything, and, like, all of these, different things that they have, that they're the medicines that they're able to make and everything with the things that grow specifically on their island. And Chopper's like, yeah, I know. I ended up there and I ended up studying there for like 2 years and everything. And like I got better with my rumble balls and everything. Just like I can kind of see that happening quite easily in the series. And like Chopper, he stayed there and he became friends, of course, with the natives and everything. And like, he flew back to Sabaody on like one of the birds. That flew, that carried him back to Sabaody when it was time for him to go home, when it was time to meet back up. We did get like a slight update in one of the cover stories after Luffy defeats Doflamingo. We see that there's like, we get like the update on the Torino Kingdom, and we see that they have like a Tanuki drugstore that's, kind of, in honor of Chopper, that they have there. Whether or not it's like they built it after Chopper left and they just named it the Tanuki drugstore, or it was just Chopper, while Chopper was there, they built it, and like maybe he helped them build it, because like he's like bringing in all this extra knowledge from like, from the, from Drum Island and everything, like teaching them some more about stuff like he knows, and then additional stuff like that. And then of course, I'm pretty sure that having like the Torino birds, because they're so big and they can fly so far, I'm sure that Chopper may have like visited other islands within that vicinity. Maybe. That would make sense, at least. And maybe having the birds help with like maybe expanding trade on the island as well, because now that the birds and the natives are, working together, they can maybe like expand their trade. It would be nice to see, Chopper reunite with them at some point. Maybe having them work with like the doctors from, I was about to say doctors from Dressrosa, that's not quite what. Work with the doctors from Drum Island. It's just like, I just like things that the Straw Hats can draw on when it's like time for them to go and like have this huge battle either against the Marines or against, hold on, but like a thought popped into my head, but like this, when they're gonna have like this huge battle either against the Marines or against, Blackbeard or whatever, that have like, it's like, okay, well, we need to gather up all of our resources. And it's just like Chopper's like, well, there's probably going to be a lot of people that get hurt, and I can't treat all of them. And yeah, we may have Law be able to help us, but he can't treat everybody either. So it's just like, we're going to need help. So it's just like, well, Drum Island is our ally at this point in time, so why don't we go and ask them, and we can have, Kureha and the doctors their help and everything. And Chopper, that would tie into Chopper, meeting up with like Dalton and Kureha again and everything. And seeing how much better of a kingdom the Sakura Kingdom has become without having, Wapol there and everything, and see, like have like the villagers and everything, the natives from the Torino Kingdom, like help him, like give them a whole bunch of new herbs and everything like that, and help with making the medicines and everything so they can use those. Like that would be a great way of doing that, because then it's just like, yeah, we know that there's going to be people that get hurt. It's going to be us. It's going to be the possibly have the Grand Fleet there and everything, since the Grand Fleet's all set up and everything. Have something like that happen. And whoever else, other allies that the Straw Hats may have at that point in time that show up to help with, either fighting against the Marines or fighting against Blackbeard, or fighting against Blackbeard and the Marines, depending on the certain circumstances. Having these additional forces to come and help you would be a good decision, particularly in regards to like treating everybody after the battle, because with everything that happened in Wano, everybody got really beat up in Wano and everything. And, Zoro nearly died. Sanji, Sanji kind of almost died too. Luffy probably beyond the awakening, he kind of nearly died. Having people there that can, do medical, perform, and we got like, Miyagi there as well, Dr. Miyagi, and like Tristan, the squirrel mink there as well, helping with that, being able to perform, first aid and treatment and everything like that right away would be very helpful in regards to fixing that, or in regards to at least trying to prevent so many people from dying, or at least not having as bad of injuries as they had already. But the thought that popped into my head a second ago was like, okay, so at the moment there's the theory, and by the time this video goes up, we may have gotten an answer to like what's going on with Vivi and Sabo. I don't know. Depends on how long it takes to wrap up Wano and for them to get this information. But there's the whole, there's at the moment that I'm recording this, we don't know exactly what's going on with like Vivi and Sabo and like what happened at the end of the reverie and everything. We know something bad happened, but we don't know what yet. And if it is that like, if it is that Vivi is captured and Sabo is captured and everything, and like, the Straw Hats are like, okay, well, we have to go and save them because, it's Luffy. It's like, Sabo's my brother and I'm not going to lose another brother. And, Vivi's our friend and everything. And, you have the Torino birds. Go get the Torino birds. However way you have to get to the island. I don't remember where the Torino Kingdom is. I don't remember if it's in the Grand Line or one of the blues. But like, they go to the Torino Kingdom, they get the birds, and then they can use the birds to try to, at the very least, get closer to Marie Joie, in a similar fashion to like how, the Germa climbed the Red Line with the snails. You can fly, we don't know how high the birds can fly, but they can probably fly pretty dang high, and like use them or like have them work with Zunisha to help, get them to Marie Joie, possibly. That would be a good way of doing that, just like at least it gives you some form of like, use Zunisha as like this movable base that you can like, base the Straw Hats out of and base like their armies out of, or their allies out of on Zunisha and everything, and then like use the Torino birds to help with that. That's just something that popped into my head. I don't know exactly how that would work, but it would at least be good, and at least be good for like evacuating a lot of people, in a short amount of time, have the birds like carry, like kind of the way that like Morgan's has like the albatrosses carry, the news coups like carry his teapot shaped newspaper headquarters, which I just find adorable. Shaped like a teapot. Yes. Okay. They have that and everything, but something like that where the Torino birds are like carrying something that they can use to like put a bunch of the injured on and then take them away to be treated, or like, get the slaves onto there from Marie Joie and then take them away. I don't know. Thought process that popped into my head. And then finally, in regards to the Straw Hat reunions from the split apart time frame, we have Franky being reunited with like the people from Karakuri Island, which would be Kiton and then his grandfather. We know that when Franky lands on Karakuri Island, he's found by this kid. It's just this giant ice covered island, and the cyborg lands there in like a Hawaiian shirt and a Speedo, which is just funny. It's just funny. And, he's found by this kid and his grandpa, and like, the kid's like cybernetic dog, cyborg dog or whatever that he has. And Franky's found by them, and like in the anime, they expanded a little bit that like Franky has to like go and have surgery after he kind of like freezes and like almost runs out of cola and everything. And then they go through the whole thing where like Franky ends up having like, he has like tea in him instead of cola, and he turns into a gentleman and everything, and that's just funny. And we know that like these two at least kind of knew that like Franky was in Vegapunk's lab, because like they explained, oh, this is where Vegapunk came from, this is where he grew up, and that giant spike thing in our island, he put that there trying to like fix the heating and everything here, to make the country better. Didn't really work, unfortunately, or if it did work, it didn't stick. But he's the one that turned a bunch of these animals into cyborgs and everything. And Franky blew up one of Vegapunk's labs, and then found the other one that was on the island. And I'm like, yeah, it's like, Franky meeting Vegapunk is another thing that we want to see have happen, but that one's more likely to happen in the actual canon of the story. We know that Kiton and his grandfather do end up, later on, after Franky like returns to Sabaody and everything, and after like the time skip, and after, I think it's like after the defeat on Dressrosa or whatever, we do know that Kiton and his grandfather read the newspaper, and they see Franky's new bounty poster, and they see that he was part of fighting against Doflamingo and everything at Dressrosa, and so it's just like, oh, they get like this update on him, so we know about that. I don't necessarily think Franky's ever gonna go, well, I don't know, maybe Franky will go back to Karakuri Island at some point in time. Maybe the Straw Hats will want to go and visit Karakuri Island. It's a winter island, so Chopper would probably enjoy that, but the rest of the Straw Hats may not necessarily care, but Chopper would want to go there because it's a winter island. Usopp and Luffy would be like, there are cyborg animals on this island? Yes, I wish to go see this, because they would be interested in that. So that would be fine. And also, I know that there's, when Oda drew Frankie at like age, what was it, age like 50 and age 70 or whatever it was when he drew Frankie older, one of them was like, you know, oh, nice little island you got here. I'm going to give it heat, you know, I'm going to put, you know, heating on this island or something like that. So it's a very Vegapunk thing to do. So maybe he'll like return to the island and he'll actually get like Vegapunk's thing up and running to allow the island to be, you know, heated and be, you know, mess with the island and actually make it a more hospitable place to live, possibly. That would make sense for something Frankie would do. I was like, because there's not really too much else that they could offer. I'm like, okay, yeah, cyborg animals, pretty cool, but I don't necessarily see those animals being very useful in regards to fighting against the world government or having a use, you know, beyond like what the Torino birds could do with like helping to carry people to or from either Marie Joie itself or to or from, you know, one of their bases, one of the Straw Hats bases or something like that. I don't see a use for the animals, and Keaton and his grandfather didn't show any type of like I'm sure they have like survival skills and everything like that living on that type of an island, but it's not something that like those skills probably can't translate super well into dealing with, you know, high level Marines and really strong pirates and everything. So probably not. But maybe we'll get an update on them at some other point in time. And then I will throw in here, it was like Brook and his managers. I really didn't have anything additional to add here. Brook just up and left the managers, which is fine because they were just using him for money and everything. He just wanted to go back to his friends. I mean, like, I'm sure Brook enjoys his rock star lifestyle. That's very much a thing. But I mean, like, it would be funny. Okay, so we do know that in Film Red, there's supposed to be this big music festival that's supposed to happen where we see Uta, you know, perform and everything. And like the Straw Hats go to this and everything. It would be, you know, there's like a, you know, it's like Brook performing at the festival would make perfect sense. But if, you know, like if Brook gets there, like if his managers are like waiting there, like, come on, Brook, we got you to be part of this. Come on, you gotta help us. That would be funny. You know, they were the long arm ones that were there because like he helped the town that was being attacked by the long arm people that thought that they summoned him via satanic ritual, which is just so weird to begin with. And then, you know, Brook helped them, but then they still got their butts kicked, and then, you know, Brook got captured by the long arms and whisked away. It's just like, he's a singing skeleton, we can make money off of this. And then, well, they did. So, I mean, you know, we'll see what happens. I don't really care for Brook's manager, so I don't care if he meets him again. You know, I want Robin to meet, you know, Soren again. I know she's not canon, but I would like that. Chomper in the Torino Kingdom, that would be nice again. And then, you know, Frankie, you know, at least maybe seeing Keaton again, or, you know, something along those lines would also be good. So there's not too much else there. I've got a couple of other ones that I want to do for the reunion ones. Like I've got like a Fishman Island one that I do want to do, and I've got a just like the New World in general, and then like a Wano one that's going to be like, depending on, Wano's not going to be, that video is not going to be done until after like everything is like resolved with Wano, because whether or not Yamato joins the crew, whether or not Momonosuke sticks with him, whoever becomes Shogun, everything else that needs to get figured up with Wano before I do that video, and like where everybody's gonna be at that point in time. Then I can do the Wano like reunion video at some point in time. But I've got like additional ones, like, you know, Luffy meeting Shanks again, you know, Zoro meeting Mihawk again, some other stuff like that that I do want to see. And then I have like an enemies reunion video that's probably gonna be like a couple of maybe like 2 or 3 videos in regards to like the Straw Hats reenacting, you know, interacting with like different enemies again, for different reasons, and like show how much stronger the Straw Hats have gotten, and such. So that's what I have. I thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye. I'm the most super guy on this island. The man behind the scenes in Water 7. Yeah, Frankie.